And the link shouldn't change.
Yeah.
Okay, it's public.
Perfect. The video is public. We're getting started. I'll be on screen in just a sec. Okay, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. For anyone who is popping in and joining us live, it's great to see you. Anyone who's joining us later, throw in some times in the comments maybe of like, when's the best time for you to pop into a live class if you couldn't make this class at the live time. But this class will definitely be available later on. So welcome to everyone, no matter when you're joining. My name is Brenton, and today we're gonna do an all levels yoga practice focusing on sneaky shoulders. So for class, if you can grab 2 yoga blocks, if you have them. If you don't have yoga blocks, then I would say like 2 maybe like Tupperware, pieces of Tupperware that's, let's say like about 4 inches tall and maybe about like 8 inches long here. Something that's kind of shoulder width distance apart that you could sandwich between your hands. I'm gonna go ahead and get my timer started. And we can go ahead and get started together on our backs. It's nice in the morning, right, to just get kind of started on yoga where you just left off in the bed. So go ahead and just take this opening time to move in any way that feels good. You can stretch or kind of windshield wiper your knees a little bit. And then from here, we'll have the feet on the ground for a bridge pose. So even maybe let's walk the feet farther forward, definitely farther forward than the knees, but certainly farther forward than you might normally walk your feet for bridge. And then as you feel ready, scooping the pelvis up off the ground. The hip bones and the navel are lifting at the same rate. So the hip bones are not higher than the navel, they're all at the same kind of level in space, let's say. And because our class is focused on the shoulders today, we'll get started right away there. So when we're talking about shoulder movement, we want to keep the trunk nice and stable. So let's think about our rib cage staying right where it is, and especially those front ribs right here. As we start to reach the palms up to the sky, feel your collarbones broaden, your shoulder blades and the head of your arms on the ground there. And then keeping the whole trunk drawing down in towards the spine, we'll start playing around with the overhead arm range. So we'll start to lengthen the arms toward the overhead position. If they come down to the floor or not, that's inconsequential. We just want to keep the rest of the body sort of out of the movement, let's say. And then we'll bring the arms back up. And just holding the hips up at this level, we can continue working with the arms. During this time, see if you can get a little soft through your face, soft through your jaw and your tongue. And then after this last one, you can leave your arms in any position. I'm gonna leave them overhead as we take the hippies down. We can windshield wiper a little bit. Hopefully you felt the glutes, the booty muscles turn on for you there. Always a great way to start. And then feet down on the ground again. Feel your feet press down and forward, and that should feel like you turn on a little engine in your lower abdomen and your legs. We'll interlock the hands behind the head with the elbows curled in, and then we'll use the abdominal muscles to lift up off the shoulder blades. So the head is nice and soft and relaxed in the hands. The feet are still pressing down and forward, and you feel like everything in the trunk is pulling down to lift the chest, pulling down to lift the chest. See if you can still breathe here without gritting your jaw or your forehead. And then as you feel ready, come all the way back down. From here, we'll lift off again. So pressing down and forward with the feet, lifting off the shoulder blades, head is nice and soft. And you can decide here if you can handle more complexity. If you can handle more complexity, free your left arm without tipping any of your body weight. Start to reach your left arm out to the side like a wing. And just see how that changes the demand on the abdomen. As you feel ready, go ahead, bend the elbow, pull it all the way back in, and come down to the floor. During this time, just notice your breathing. This first opening bit, just notice how you're breathing, maybe through your nose or through your mouth. Where is it going in your body? More to your belly, more to your chest, more to the front or back, the sides. This opening bit is not so much to manipulate the breath, just notice what it's doing. So as you feel ready, come up off the shoulder blades again. Feet down and forward, of course, head heavy into the hands. If you can handle more complexity, free that right arm, reach it out to the side like a wing. And then bringing that arm back into the head, lowering everything down to the ground. I'll give us the opportunity to do this one more time, but actually without any guidance from me. And so this gives you the opportunity to self-guide some movement and to choose your level of complexity. If you're doing something that's asymmetrical, like one arm then the other, make sure you do both. And maybe we'll meet up about now-ish at the end of that pattern. So from here, figure out how you want to come up to all fours. You can roll to the side or you can roll up the spine. From all fours, what we'll do is we'll be in tabletop position. Again, just some free form movement here. So if you don't want to be on your wrists just yet, you can pop yourself up onto your fists, you can pop yourself down onto your forearms, and then just kind of like some self-guided movement here, whatever feels like the right thing to do. You can move in your hips, your spine, your shoulders. And then we'll all meet down on the forearms. So the elbows narrow underneath the shoulders. You decide if you want your hands parallel or fingers clasped together. If you don't know, try it both ways and just kind of see what works better for you. So from here, rooting down through the forearms, tucking the toes under, lifting the knees off the ground any amount for dolphin. You can step your dolphin nice and wide here, lifting up onto the tippy toes. Press down through the forearms, you get some space in the shoulders there. And if you're feeling, this can be quite intense, so if you're feeling this intensity, you're just kind of, for lack of a better way of describing it, just trying to survive the moment. But if you feel like, man, I've done this a while, I can handle more complexity, starting to kind of shift the weight forward over the shoulders, so loading the shoulders a little bit more. And then we can lower down to the knees. We can grab one of our yoga blocks. And it's here that we will introduce ourselves to our shoulder action that we'll be doing throughout practice. So come to any seat that feels good, including on a couch or something like that. What we'll do is we'll take the block in between the hands like so. We'll take the block out in front of us. So see to the best of your ability that the pelvis is in neutral, the rib cage is in neutral above the pelvis, the head is pulled back. And then with the arms reaching in front, we're not rounding the spine overly. We just want the shoulders kind of snug in their sockets. Then we press lightly the palms into the block and stretch the palms away from the elbows. Okay, now here's our shoulder action that we will attempt to maintain this entire practice. And the action is, imagine that you are drawing from your outer armpit, which down here is like the lowest part, all the way out through the pinky side of the arm, all of the muscles on that side of the arm turning on to lengthen out and flow out towards the pinky side. At the same time, your thumb is drawing in along the inseam of the arm towards that side of the armpit. And it's going to feel different when the arms are in different relationships to the torso, but just see if you can feel a little bit of that here. It's almost like an engine kind of turning on and humming. And we want to try to get those actions happening as simultaneously as possible. It's almost like a rhythm or a vibration of those actions. So now that we've kind of felt that a little bit, we can go ahead, release our block, taking the hands down in tabletop position. See if you can feel that again here. So the outer pinky up to the outer armpit, the outer armpit down to the pinky, then the inner wrist or thumb up to the inner armpit. And so you feel this as sort of a circular action here We'll see if we can load this a little bit more as we tuck the toes under and lift off the knees any amount. Pushing out through your fingers more than your wrists. Feel the shoulder blades on the back. As you feel ready, tip the pelvis all the way up. We're going to push off the hands one at a time. Keep that action throughout the push. One hand, another hand, all the way to the back of the mat there. You can widen the feet. If the floor seems far away, you can perch your elbows up onto your thighs, or you can kind of like rest your elbows down on an ottoman or something like that. Just kind of sway out here a little bit. And sway out in your legs, shifting your legs left to right, or your torso. And then coming right to center here, bending into the knees. If you're okay with slow motion rolling, slow motion roll, all the way up to stand. Stepping the feet now underneath the pelvis. We'll start working from here. Let's see from here if we can bring the arms forward and up as if we had that block in front of us. We want to feel again, outer armpit to the pinky, thumb in towards the inner armpit or the top of the arm here. Feeling a little bit of this. We want to keep the torso nice and neutral as best we can as we play the edge of shoulder overhead reach. So we start to lift the arms, trying to keep that action as much as possible without letting the ribs or the pelvis tip. As you feel ready, we'll turn the palms out. We'll reach the arms out and down, still trying to feel that action even though the arms are shifting. Turning the palms open to the side. Again, we'll reach out and up all the way to the sky, trying to feel that action. And then all the way back down by the side. We'll just do that one more time. Re-educating this movement pattern, getting the brain to consider the shoulder in maybe a new way than the brain has considered the arm and shoulder in the past. From here, hands can come onto the hippies. We'll slight bend into the knee without tipping the pelvis forward. Feel yourself nice and neutral and long through the spine. The only thing we're shifting is tipping the pelvis forward over the thigh bones, trying to maintain all of those other relationships. As you tip forward, this is the halfway mark. We feel the whole abdomen drawing in. We see from here, can I get the shoulder action and reach the arms wide out like wings? As we feel ready from here, forward folding over the legs. Testing it out one more time, backing out to that same position. And then as we feel ready from here, hands down, we're gonna walk ourselves all the way back and forward to that downward facing dog. So our first downward facing dog here, we just kind of see if we can get that action in the shoulders. So outer armpit to the pinky, inner wrist to the inner armpit. From here, we'll see if we can shift that forward towards plank, so a little bit more weight bearing in the shoulders. You want to feel the shoulder blades on the back, so lift the ribs up into the back, outer armpit to the pinky, inner wrist to the inner armpit. As you feel ready, lower down to the knees from here. We're going to bend the elbows at about 45 degrees. Heart stays in front of the fingernails. Shoulders resist the floor as we come all the way down. Now here's where we want our 2 blocks. Do you have your 2 blocks or your Tupperwares? Bring your 2 blocks in at the lowest height. And they're going to be right underneath some cactus arms. So if we cactus the arms, elbows at the same height as the shoulders. Want to make sure the low back feels okay here. So maybe a little bit more glutes and abdomen. And from here, what we'll do is we'll simply hover the arms up off of our blocks. So the blocks are giving us that feedback of like, okay, I want to be a little bit higher than these blocks if I can. So we'll lower them back down to the blocks, lift them back up again. So just kind of using those upper back muscles, we'll keep going like that. See if you can do this without your neck pulling the back of the neck nice and long. Now keeping them up, we're going to see, can I rotate in the shoulder socket to sort of tip the hands forward and the elbows down, and then bring the hands back down to parallel. So it's just a little bit of movement here. Starting to feel those arms really wake up for us. So from here, we can just kind of rest the arms on the block. Good stuff. We'll build fists here with the thumbs wrapping around the front of the fingers. Hover the arms again. This time we'll do our pulling action. So we'll start to pull the elbows in by the side waist, keeping the hands higher than the blocks. And then we'll pull ourselves back out to the cactus. I'm just doing that a couple of times. Active in the lower body. The glutes, the abdomen, all of that's active to make the spine feel super comfy. When the elbows pull back, maybe you free the hands back, palms facing out, thumbs up. Lift the whole of the arms, hug them toward each other. We're just here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We did it. We're going to take the hands underneath the elbows by the low ribs. Roll the shoulders away from the ground. Press into the fingers, more into the wrists. And see, keep the shoulders kind of lifted and, for lack of a better word, frozen in relationship to the body. Press down through the hands, lift up. Tuck the toes, lift off the knees, up and back, downward facing dog. Give ourselves one more time to push off the hands and walk all the way back to the feet. So here we go. One arm, second arm. Bending over the legs at the back of the mat from here. On the next inhale, widening the arms halfway. Exhale, we'll take the hands right to the hips, stand upright. Inhale, we'll reach the arms all the way up. Exhale, we'll bend the elbows, releasing the hands down by the side. Here we go again, arms all the way up. Hinge over the legs, forward fold. Inhale, backing out. Hands out like wings. And then on the exhale, hands down, trying to feel that action as we walk ourselves all the way forward. So we're in downward facing dog there. Outer armpit to the pinky down. Inner wrist to the inner armpit up. And then as you feel ready, shifting forward towards plank. See if you can still find that. This time we'll walk our plank out. So one knee down to the floor, second knee down to the floor. Feel the action in your arms, feel your torso stable as you take one foot back to plank and the other foot back. Walk it out like that. And this time we're rocking back to plank. We'll take the knees down, but they're behind where they just were. Pelvis forward, heart forward. We'll bend the elbows at 45 degrees. Trying to lower all the way down in one piece. When we come down here, we can find some freedom from the blocks for now. Tenting the hands outside the yoga mat, lifting the elbows and the shoulders. Press down through the pads of the fingers to roll the chest up off the ground any amount. And then coming down. You're just on your own. Choose the range of motion that works for you. And in these belly back bends, or all back bends, important to feel the whole front of the body drawing into the back of the body to create the shape. After this last one here, we can go ahead, come down, slide the hands back underneath the elbows, shoulders rolling away from the ground. We'll press into the floor, lifting up to the knees, tucking the toes up and back, downward facing. Okay, so feeling the action of the arms here, outer armpits to the pinkies down, inner wrist to the inner armpits up. And then we'll walk one foot forward any amount. You see how much space you have in the back line of your body because you may have to pull your hands up pretty soon. But see if you can continue to walk the feet forward and you're sort of just maximizing the time that the arms spend on the ground. Even if you pop up to the fingertips, that's fine. But still getting a sense of that same arm action that we've been working on. Well, I'll meet at the top of the mat in a standing bend. As you feel ready on the inhale, widening the reach nice and wide. Exhale, hands to the pelvis, standing up. Inhale, reaching the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, tipping over the legs again. Inhale, widening the arms halfway. And exhale, hands coming down, bending into the knees. Step the left leg back, knee and top of the foot to the floor for low lunge on the right. So set yourself up well here. You can kind of move around in your pelvis a little bit, but you're trying to find like 90-90, right knee over the right ankle, left hip over the left knee. Feeling yourself really drawn in, front body to the back body, head over the pelvis. We can take the arms down. Remember, we want to feel the whole front of the body draw into the back of the body as we start to fly the cape. So just flying those arms back as much as feels good. We can start actually working out through the shoulders here a little bit. As you start to move the shoulders, keep the whole front of the body drawing into the back of the body. And then as you feel ready, we'll go ahead, tip forward, hands to the floor, step the back foot in, forward fold. Inhale, widen the arms halfway. Exhale, hands to pelvis, standing up. Inhale, reaching the arms up to the sky. Exhale, hands down by the side. Set your feet any way you like for chair pose. Coming down for the chair. Maybe start to bounce a little bit here. See that you're moving at your ankles, your knees, and your hippies right in here, like an accordion, all of those joints. Finding a position for the legs that feels okay, challenging but not overwhelming. Let's start with the arms forward in that forward position. Find the arm action. See if you can add more shoulder flexion, that's arms overhead. This is the breath in. The breath out is we're gonna take the arms down and back, shelf the table. Inhale, floating forward and up. Exhale, floating back. One more time. And back. This time we'll come all the way up to stand. And exhale, tipping over the legs. Inhale, arms wide halfway. And exhale, hands down, stepping the right leg back. Knee and top of the foot to the floor, coming up to the low lunge. Take some time again to kind of feel yourself here. Takes a while for me. Pulling everything in, hip bones to armpits, same distance on both sides of the body. As you feel ready, arms down by the side. We're kind of flying the cape back here. So we're reaching the backs of the hands up into imaginary resistance, pulling the front of the body into the back of the body. And then keeping all of that moving in the shoulders. As you feel ready, we'll tip ourselves all the way down and forward. We'll move the left knee back, so we're in that tabletop position. You decide if you want to move here in table or if you want to step the feet back to plank. Both are fine options. Find the action in your arms and your shoulders, ribs lifting up into the shoulders. From here, we're gonna lift the left leg up off the ground. Use the glutes for that. Not moving in the torso as you do little toe touches up and down. That's gonna load the shoulder complex. And we're done. That foot down, if you want knees down to the ground, that's what I'll take. And then bending into the elbows, lowering in one piece to the floor. Once we come down here, little locust pose, so hands back, we'll free those up for now. Pinkies up, legs up, chest up. Choose a range of motion where the low back feels okay, the neck feels okay. Using the glutes, the abdomen, the whole front body pulls into the back body. As you feel ready, lower the legs, but not the chest. Keep the shoulders rolling open as you slide the hands underneath the elbows, shoulders open. And then pressing down with the fingers. Do you have any more little lift? Just a little lift here. So still using your back muscles, not turning this into passive with like pressing into the hands and yanking the spine up. From here, we'll transition back to downward facing dog. All right, we will step or hop the feet forward. So the same principles remain as long as the arms are on the ground. Outer armpit to the pinky down, inner wrist to the inner armpit up. And you decide how you want to do that. You want to walk or you want to hop. Once you get to the very top of the mat there on the inhale breath, arms wide, halfway. On the exhale breath, forward fold. One more time like that. Hands to the waist, standing upright. On the inhale breath, arms reach up. Exhale breath, hands down by the side. One more time, arms up. Exhale, tipping over the legs. Stepping the left foot back, knee down to the ground, top of the foot, coming up towards that low lunge. You can be a high lunge too if you don't want your knee down on the ground. So kind of find the positioning here. Now imagine that the head of the arm bone is like a golf ball. It's plugged into the socket, which is a little golf tee. So it's kind of precarious there, bigger ball than the socket. And that tee is created by the shoulder blade itself. So imagine here, can you imagine your golf ball in the tee? We want to imagine that in like kind of a centrated position where it's not like falling off to one side. And that will be an important visual as we stretch the arm, the left arm down by the side. We kind of activate it with all of the muscles there. And then keeping the golf ball in a centered position with its tee, we'll start to reach the left arm forward and up into shoulder flexion. So we're going to try to get it all the way up without the ribs flaring out. And then at the very top, feel the golf ball pull into the tee as you turn the palm open. Keep the muscles on the arms nice and strong as you start to reach the arm out and away from you. Keep the golf ball pulling into the tee and just take this one more time. After this last one here, we'll go ahead, take the hands down and forward in front, tuck the back toes, bring the back leg in, see how you feel. On the inhale breath, arms wide. On the exhale breath, standing up. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hands down at the waist, coming down again for chair. A little bouncy here, just so you can find that place where you're challenged but not overwhelmed. Taking the arms to cactus. Even though the arms are bent, you can still feel that action. From here, it's like the bottom of the arm to the elbow out through the pinky, inner wrist to the inner elbow to the top of the shoulder. From here on the inhale breath, we're going to keep the front body pulling into the back body as you still just look up with the chest and vision. And then on the exhale, curling everything towards the back and rounding the shoulders in, the elbows in. So just moving like that a couple of times. Last one. As you feel ready, tipping over the legs, forward fold. Stepping the right foot back, knee and foot to the floor. Coming up for the low lunge. Trying to get your pelvis, feeling it centered between your legs, between your armpits. Front of the body draws to the back body. So right arm down by the side here, okay? Feel the golf ball in the tee. Keep that nice and centered as you start to reach the right arm forward towards shoulder flexion. So keep the golf ball in the tee, and keep the torso out of it. As it gets to the top, keep the golf ball pulling into the tee. As you turn in the socket to take the palm open, we'll start to reach the arm out and back without moving anything else. That's the hard part. So let's see if we can feel that just one more time. Arm forward and up. And turning in the socket out and down. This is a complex joint, so if you have questions about this joint, toss them into the comments. I'll answer them after the class. I think that's the best way. Go ahead, take the hands down. We'll go ahead and step back towards downward facing dog. So feel both of your arms now in this overhead position. We're going to shift forward towards plank, top of a push-up. Remember, you have the option to work this in table. Feel the action of the shoulders. You can lift the right leg up off the ground and touch up and down. Keep the chin in, neck and throat in line with the spine. As you feel ready, foot down to the ground. We're going to come all the way down to the belly, however you like to do that. Even in that movement, you can still feel that action, right? So sliding the hands back underneath the elbows, just lifting the chest for a baby cobra. Again, we want the low back to feel nice and secure, nice and supported. And then come back to downward facing dog any way you like. Okay, from downward facing dog, what we're gonna do, and we can do this from table as well, come on down, find your block, okay? Remember, this can be also Tupperware, but this can also just be like, at this point, any household object. The heavier the object, the harder the movement. So we're just gonna place the block somewhere on the mat that's accessible. We're gonna decide if we wanna do table or downward facing dog. Okay, so we wanna find that shoulder action here, and then what we're gonna see is, can I free up one of my hands here? I'll do my left one first. Can I not change the rest of my body, but free up one of my hands to grab that block and place it anywhere else on the mat? Taking that hand back down, we're in that standard position. Same thing on the other side. So I'm trying first to stabilize the shape, free up the hand, pick up the block, move it anywhere. Continuing to move. Maybe do just a few more placements and make the placements as complex or not complex as you need, right? So like you can just do like little movements back and forth from one hand to the other. And then after this last one, we'll go ahead, step or hop the feet all the way forward. We'll go ahead and keep the block with us, bend into the knees, slow motion, roll the spine all the way up. How are your shoulders doing? Let's go ahead and step the left foot back to a high lunge. So keeping the heel nice and lifted. Pick a distance between the feet where you can still be like upright in the pelvis. Pelvis upright, nice and upright in the spine. Okay, see if you can find that same shoulder action that we found earlier with arms in front. And then from here, what we'll do is we'll lift the block more towards the upright position. We'll bend into the elbows so that the block is kind of coming towards the top of the head. And what we'll do here is we'll just kind of freeze ourselves from our ribs down through our legs as we start to move the block around in some overhead circles. And so again, you choose the range of motion, whatever works for you. As we come down, block into the chest, turn the position open, heels in, toes out, but only to the point that the pelvis can stay upright. So we do not want something like this. Let me get in a lighter background. Something like this. We don't want that, okay? So heels in, toes out. Pelvis upright, we're nice and upright with it. We're gonna work the hips independently of the shoulders. So you can start with the block forward, and then you decide how much shoulder flexion, true shoulder flexion, that's what you're working, and it's outer arm to the pinky, thumb to the inner arm, feeling all of that. And then once you kind of got the position for your shoulders, that's sort of maxing it out, press down through the feet, stand up, pelvis stays upright, and then come back down. So we'll just do these horse pulses. Let's just do one more. And then we'll come down. We'll bring the block back down forward into the chest. We'll turn our lunge to the back. So now we're in lunge on the other side. Left foot forward, right foot back. We get our pelvis nice and upright, our body nice and upright. And from here again, arms forward, we find our shoulder action. And then we start to bring the arms up, keeping the shoulder action, bending into the elbows. The block goes toward the top of the head, and then keeping everything frozen in the torso down to the floor. Start to move the block around in some overhead circles. And what is it here? I think it's like keeping the elbows wide is going to be more intense. And then from here, what we can do, bringing the block into the heart, lowering the back knee down to the ground, can abandon the block. We'll swivel open, the right knee open. So we're coming up into kind of this half kneeling position, or you can also think about this as like kind of a warrior two, like a half warrior two. So go ahead and get your right hip over the right knee, right shoulder over that. Kind of feel hip bones again to armpits. Try to measure that, get everything nice and lifted up here. And from here, we're gonna keep the legs drawing into the pelvis so that the pelvis doesn't move as we start to kind of stretch and reach out through that right side body. So that should feel like a nice deep stretch in there. We wanna feel everything on the front body pull into the back. And then from here, we'll keep moving. So as we lift up, we're gonna kind of challenge our balance a little bit, so arms wide. We're gonna keep the front body pulling in as we reach the right arm down to the floor and maybe the left leg out for kind of like a side plank. So you kind of figure this out here. Where can I go? And then we'll come right back to where we just were. So go at the speed that makes sense for you. I, for one, am a fan of really slow, controlled movements because I feel like that's where the most re-education happens. But we'll just do maybe 3 of these. As we feel ready from here, we'll come down to our bottoms facing the back of the mat. We'll have the hands behind us, the feet and knees in front of us. With the arms behind us, this is shoulder extension. I'm gonna have the fingers facing in, but you can modify and have the fingers facing wherever is most comfortable. Now let's return to our golf ball and the tee. We don't want that golf ball to be sort of rolling forward like this. It's kind of like rolling off the tee, right? So feel the chest open, feel the arms pull back. Can you feel that action here? Outer arm to the pinky down, inner wrist to the inner armpit up. Now this might be quite a lot for you here. If you feel like, I could probably load this a little bit more. And what we're gonna do is press down and forward with the feet to lift the torso up, keeping the chin tucked, keeping the arms working, soft creases of the elbows, spinning towards the pinky finger. Soft, like just a bend in the elbows enough that you feel the muscles of the arms working. And then keep the arms working, pressing. Keep the golf ball centered as you pull the front body into the back body and the hips down. Once we do this, we kind of come more upright. We turn on the right hand. The right hand we turn, we come back to downward facing dog. So just feel the shoulders here because this is the opposite position, right? This is the overhead position, the flexion. Just trying to feel a little bit more of that action as you feel ready. Coming down to the knees. Once we come down to the knees here, we can take the right foot forward. We can swivel the left knee open, so we'll just do the same sequence on the other side. So first get yourself nice and upright. Left hip over the knee, left shoulder over the knee, and then working the legs to secure the pelvis evenly between the armpits. So once you kind of find that a little bit, I feel like that's what we need to have this stretch feel like a great big morning stretch as you go over. Maybe you feel it through the front of the left hip. Maybe you just feel it through that left side waist. And then as you feel ready, we're gonna topple up and over to the other side. Left hand down on the ground, right leg kicking out, just like one long line. We'll just go back and forth like that. So coming over and then down. Now remember, my friends, if you have questions about anything we do here, drop them in the comments because Ollie's monitoring, and we can, after Shavasana, we can talk through them a little bit. Okay, after this last one, we're gonna go ahead, come down to our bottom, so we're facing the front. Same thing, right? So we have the hands behind us, maybe fingertips facing towards the body. Okay, you feel the outer arm down to the pinky down, inner wrist up to the inner armpit up. That should even feel like, oh, I'm boosting my chest up here a little bit. Find the golf ball centered at the tee. And then we're gonna press the feet down and forward if you want to lift the hips. And keep that golf ball centered in the tee as best you can. And then as you feel ready, coming all the way down with the hips. Woo! All right, from here, we're gonna come back forward onto tabletop position. My friends, if your wrists are they've had enough, kind of roll them out a little bit, do some wrist stretches. And then I'll also say that when we come forward into tabletop, you can be down on your forearms as well, okay? Now from here, we just wanna find a nice centered weight-bearing position. We're still working the arms. Whether the arms are bent or straight, it's the same principle. Pulling the ribs into the shoulder blades here. What we can do from here is see, can I free the left hand, take it behind the head, keeping the chin into the throat, lift the head into the hands, but that also is like front of the body into the back of the body there. So from here, twist from your rib cage, open to the left, keep pulling the head into the hands, and then come back down. So really use that right arm and try to feel the specificity of that right arm. Outer arm to the pinky down, inner wrist to the inner armpit up. After this last one, left hand down to the floor, right hand behind the head. And we'll do the same thing, lift the head into the hand. That's true through this whole sequence. So keep it going, press down, opening up with the ribs to the right and down. There's a lot to feel here, but just try to feel head into the hand and then the specifics of what we're trying to do with that left arm. Okay, taking that right hand down, we can go ahead, come to a seated position near the top of the mat. We'll start to come down towards the back here, but first maybe propping the heels into the ground, use the legs or the floor behind you to kind of get yourself a nice little boost up right here. See if you could even rock into balance. So you're trying to get your low back to press forward. That's when it's gonna feel the best. If you're feeling back here, you're kind of holding on for dear life, right? So I would say get your hands back then, press forward, and lift your legs. Let's all come down to the forearms behind us. Feel the golf ball centered in the socket. Pull the front body down into the back body so you feel like the pelvis is neutral with the ribs. We'll just kind of press forward one at a time with the legs. As you feel ready, we'll come all the way down to the ground here. Just a couple more stretches down here, but this should feel really nice, just like, the hard work is mostly over. Okay, so take the legs up, shins up, okay? Maybe start with the hands on the abdomen. The abdomen's working to really hold the pelvis, ribs, and torso still as you take dead bugs, so kind of walking the feet out. Remember, you choose the range of motion, so they don't have to touch down to the ground, especially if you feel like this is pulling on your shoulders or your neck at all. We want those structures to be really soft here. And if they're being pulled on, what that's telling us is that the abdomen is not, I don't want to say it's not strong enough, but it hasn't learned what its job is here. And its job is to hold everything nice and steady. Because we're working on shoulders today, maybe just coming back through center, taking the arms up. Now this is the same shoulder action we've been working on, right? But now you have the feedback of the floor. So you feel the shoulder blades down, you feel the head of the arm bone down, so the golf ball is in its tee, and you can work opposite arm and leg. And as you move the arms, you're still trying to feel that same principle. So lengthening out through the pinky side of the arm, drawing back into the body with the thumb side. Okay, we're probably good there. Some just nice light activation of the abdomen. Feet down, maybe feet rest, knees resting in on each other. We want to keep it like an essence of that abdominal engagement as we cactus the arms. When you cactus the arms, we want to feel all of the shoulder blades, the back body on the ground. So feeling the front ribs draw down, feeling the feet press down and forward to secure the pelvis on the ground. And then you want to see here, can I get my elbow, my wrist, and all of my fingernails, maybe except the thumb, but the rest of them on the ground. And you might be surprised, like, not easy. A lot of what we do here is simple but not easy. Okay, but this gets us nice and open through the arms, the chest, the armpits. I hope you can feel that. And we'll just explore with some snow angel type of movements, sliding the arms more towards like an overhead position as if the hands wanted to touch each other. But at the same time, we're trying to keep all of our points of contact. So the entire torso, my abdomen needs to work there, and then bringing the arms back down towards that cactus. You can just kind of move with wherever it feels good. You can make this be more dynamic, like you're moving the whole time, or you can be more static and just kind of hold a position. So find a position where you can hold all those points of contact on the ground. Kind of rock your chin side to side. This will kind of help get us a little bit of space and freedom in the neck. If you wanted to hold a stretch, you can hold it. You can kind of lean down so that the nose is closer to the armpit. Like, did I sweat enough? Did I put on deodorant this morning? I wear that natural deodorant, so it's like you have to reapply every couple hours. Coming over to the other side. And then as you feel ready, coming, the chin back through center, lifting the chin off the ground, interlocking the hands behind the head, let the head rest into the hands. The hands have it. The hands create a hammock on a windy day. And you just kind of move your head. Now use your hands to pull your head back away from your pelvis and setting the head down on the ground. The way that the head wants to rest is with the forehead level with the ground, the chin tucked, maybe even towards like a double chin situation. And so if you feel like your chin is really lifting and your forehead's tipping back, put a little pillow under there. I bet you'll feel better. From there, kind of decide what you want to do with your legs. You can throw them up an ottoman, like that's such a nice thing to do. Or you can just stretch them out, or you can leave them as they are. We'll just take a short rest, a little shavasana mini rest here. And if you don't like to be on your back, you can also rest on your side in a fetal position or even rest in a seat. So kind of once you find a place that's comfortable here, again, just take notice of the breath, kind of like we did at the very beginning of class. And we didn't do so much work today with the breath. Maybe we'll do like a breath-centered practice at some point. But we really just said, let me notice my breath today. Not so much let me change it. And so right here again, notice your breath. Notice the balance between the inhale and the exhale. Notice if you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. Notice where in your body you're breathing. In your chest, below your ribs, way down deep in the pelvis. How is the body filling up three-dimensionally? Is it pretty even all the way around? Like you would blow up a balloon and it would just blow up all sides of the balloon? Or are you kind of dominant on the front of your body? Or maybe the sides of your body, maybe the back of your body. Without trying to change really any of that, just notice if it changes by itself just from being noticed. And that's kind of one of the fun things here is that by noticing those corrections happen in a way that's beyond sort of like this instructions from the mind. Because when our mind gives instructions, like our mind is not really that smart, right? So the mind might give instructions of like, you need to do this and breathe more like this, but like, is that really better? And so I think sometimes if you just kind of let the mind go more towards the backdrop, you say, okay, I'm just gonna notice. Well, the body is way smarter than the mind, and the body will self-correct most of the time, better than the mind could kind of guide it into some particular experience. In these last few moments here, just feel the weight of the body on the floor. Before we start moving again, I will offer us just one little breathing exercise, which I personally love, but that doesn't mean that you will love it. And so I invite you here really to either just tune me out, put me in the background, or to follow me if this feels good to you. So we'll do a counted breath with a little hold at the top and bottom. And let's just be ready to inhale right about now. So breathing in through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Can you hold it without it being an emergency? You just watch. And without it being an emergency, through the nose, breathe out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Starting to breathe back in through the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Breathing out through the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. One more time on your own if you like. Otherwise, just let your body breathe on its own. Now calling into mind, like the second hand ticking on a clock, we can start taking some movement back maybe to the fingers and the toes. But of course, I don't want to tell you how to experience this wake up because it's so nice and lovely. So just move however you like to move. I always like just big stretches down here. The armpits feel so open right now. The chest feels so good and worked. I hope yours does too. And fetal position for me is always another really nice position to just spend a couple of moments. And then of course in your own time coming up to a comfortable seat. If you're still with me here, I definitely recommend to come to a seat and just have your eyes closed and just be here, silent sitting for a few moments. You know, it's good to do this for about 10 minutes every day at least, just to stop the momentum of our thinking turning immediately into behavior. And so instead, we just see if, can I sit nice and tall? Can I get my pelvis upright, my ribs upright? Can I feel some of that same action in my arms so that my shoulders aren't hanging down like a slope, but they're sitting nice and snug in their sockets, the golf ball and the tee nice and centered. Okay, my friends, if you have time to sit here quietly, you want to turn this off now, go for it. If you want to stick around, I'll plan to answer a couple of questions. I don't have any questions in the chat yet, but hopefully we'll be able to build this up where you guys definitely feel invited to do this kind of stuff. I think that this is one of, I've been getting a lot of questions in my classes recently because, everyone who comes to my classes is on my email list for the most part. And they're like, well, what's the difference between, doing videos and doing things live? And for me, there's a couple of things with it. I think one with the video production, which I've been doing a lot of this past year, there's something about it that doesn't feel like just what I want to do, because by the time I release the video to you, it's 3 months after I filmed it. And I don't feel the same way about that content that I did at the time that I made it. Which is not to say that it's bad. I think that it's great content, and I think it holds up on its own. And I think it's good to actually have the internet where you can record things and have them for posterity, even though as teachers, you kind of look at it, and every yoga teacher I talk to who creates online content does the same thing, where they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, and now it's online forever, and you're gonna see it and all this stuff. But the way that I look at it is sort of like, I'm always growing. The way that I'm understanding things is changing. My vocabulary is changing based on what hits with me, what I see hit with other people. And who am I to say that something, the way I was looking at it or the way that I was understanding it 6 months ago isn't valid for somebody else out there? So I see that there's still value in content that's being dripped and created a long time ago and then dripped out in the present. But for me, there's something more special about it just being like, nope, I'm here. This is what I have today. This is how my body feels today. This is how I understand movement today. And to share that with you and give you the opportunity to share back with me. So that's what I really imagine this all to be. I'm thinking even of like maybe making a Facebook group because I've been doing some research, and it seems like a Facebook group is a really great way for people to feel like there's a community, that you can engage with other people, that you can engage with me. And it's another platform, I think, with this live streaming where with the live streaming, you want to be reminded that it's happening. And so the way we're reminding people that it's happening is that A, you can subscribe to our calendar. We have a calendar, yogainyourlivingroom.com/livestream. We have a calendar there, and you'll see underneath the calendar on the right-hand side, it says subscribe. And so if you are a digital calendar user, it doesn't matter which kind, Google, Apple, whatever, you can go down there, you can subscribe to the calendar, and that's a good way for you to get notifications. But another way that we're doing notifications is through social media. If you just happen to, and those algorithms are kind of effed, but if you happen to be on social media and you happen to be one of the 4% of people that social media shows our posts to, then you can get that notification there. And then we're also doing it through our email list. So I am thinking of doing a Facebook group that people could join, have some dialogue around, and then that could serve as basically another place where you could get that notification and just have it be like, hey, yoga's starting, come join us on the mat. So this is kind of how I imagine it to go forward. I love doing yoga at home. I do yoga at home every day, and I do it with other teachers online. So it's not, totally, why are you laughing?
Dolly said that they liked it very much when they did the class.
Oh, cool. Okay, so Ollie's parents. Hi Dalco. Hi Micah. If you guys are still there. Hopefully you guys feel the shoulder thing. But so this is a little something about how we imagine doing this going forward. And like Ollie's parents, Micah and Dalco, they're in Slovakia. I know that there's people who resonate with our content all over the place. We have somebody in London. Hi, Rebecca. And, or I don't know if you're in London, maybe you're just in England somewhere. But I think that it opens us to a wider audience. And I think that this is a really great way. We all kind of bitch about the internet and kind of its limitations. But I think this is one of those ways where we can sort of kind of bridge beyond that and past that and actually have some genuine connection here, It's the people who are starting to teach yoga online now are not just the people who are like, hey, this cool fad thing, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna make it, for myself. These are the top of the line teachers are now coming forward and saying, hey, I want a piece of this pie too. And I'm not calling myself a top of the line teacher by any stretch of the imagination. I have so much learning to do, but I know that, that's where I'm headed, and I know that that's what I'm interested in and where I'm going. So I just kind of, those are mainly the questions I've been getting recently from every one of my classes, because I've been talking about this, come do live streaming with us. And people are sort of just like, well, why? What's the value in that? And how is that different than just putting content out there and just having there be a library that people can go to, which I also think is great and fantastic, but there is something different and special about the live stream. So if you have questions, I'm gonna hop off, but if you have questions, you can put them in the comments, and what I will do is I will plan to answer them on our next live stream. So that can be a good way for you to come back and kind of see what else we have brewing. Our next live stream is going to be next Saturday, which is the last day of August, August 31st. It's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. And then after that, we sort of did like a Sunday night, a Monday morning, a Wednesday morning, a Saturday morning, because based off of availability we were getting from our email list. And so we're kind of testing out all these different time slots. We're not sure what's going to stick, but what we're thinking is that we probably want to have like a standard day and time so that you can rely on that, and that that's another way of reminding you in an easy way, right?